Okay, so moving on, another topic that we touched upon very briefly in a past segment was that about attributes. So let's open up our HTML example and let's have a look at that. I'll load it up here, so localhost HTML example. Okay, so if you remember, attributes in the main sense just mean class and ID, and you write them by just putting a little thing after the tag name. So let's make a little div, and just a div by itself would just look like this in the page. So hello world. So that's what a div would look like, and that's perfectly working. But to specify it a little bit more, you can add information, and you put that information in the opening tag of the element. And this information can be either a selector for CSS and jQuery, which is normally the class or the ID. So you can give it a class. Class equals hello div, and that won't make any difference there, but if you want to style it, then you can reference it by calling that class. So in the head we can make a style, and that's why the head is used for this kind of thing. So you can put the CSS instead of linking it to another sheet, which sometimes is unnecessary, like now. It normally is better because it'll just take up less space in the HTML file, which is already crowded with PHP and all that other stuff. But for this example, it will work fine. So we put style, and then we call hello div, and let's make it so with a good font. Calibri. Let's make it what color? Just red. Let's make it bold. Font weight bold. And you can see here that when I load it, it's going to, all these styles are going to affect it because I called the class hello div. And the class in CSS is going to be called by putting the little dot in front of it. But let's say I want to have a few different divs. So let's say 3 divs, and I want them all to be Calibri red and bold. But I want one to be really big, so the last one to be really big. So one thing we could do is give it an ID. An ID is a unique thing for that element, and no other element can have that ID, because as you can see here, different elements can have the same class, but it's just that the ID is unique to one element. So we say ID big div, and then here I call the ID, and the ID is prompted by a hash. So you say big div, and let's make it really, really huge. So font size, well, not that huge, but 80 pixels, which is pretty big. So you can see that last one is affected because it's got the ID. So that's something to remember, that any element multiple elements can have the same class, and also one element can have more than one class. So you can list them just without any commas. So you can say that all these are part of the div class. So let's say we have another div up here that said something different, not hello world. So so welcome. And so this wouldn't be called hello div, this would be called welcome div. But they're all part of the div class. So any element can have more than one class, and every every class can be part of more than one element. But in IDs, it's just unique. So every element will have one ID if they have an ID, and you can't have more than one ID. If you try to list more than one ID, it won't work. But yeah, so you can see. So you can see here, this example here, if I wanted to style, let's say, all of the divs, so just the div class, as being like in Hello World, like that. And then I say that the welcome div will have a blue color. Color blue. But then we want to specify that this hello world, this big div, is slightly bigger. And you can see here that I've got that space, and now this isn't working anymore. Well, here there are lots of space. There's a lot of wiggle room, but the ID is very specific and it needs to be spelled out correctly, and it's completely unique. So then you can see how it will work. So the welcome div is getting colored blue. Every single div here, because it's part of the div class, will have font family Calibri, and it will have initially red unless it's overridden here, because it comes afterwards, and will have a font weight as bold. So all of them are bold. And then this specific one with the ID will have a specific styling of itself, and so we say that the font size is bigger. So this is the way the attributes normally work. Okay, so now we should go over some different attributes that are different from class and ID, which maybe we haven't gone over as much. So in making a link attribute, a link element, the main attribute is going to be the href. So if I want to go to I don't know, what's a good website? Canon.com. Not Canon. Canon. Okay. Let's say I want to have a link that sends us to the Canon website. Okay, I can put the link in there, and then close that and give the text that will show itself as a link. So Canon website. And there I have a link. If I click that, it will send me to the website. And links are very important in websites because a website needs to be a full circle, and normally it will be made of different files. And if you don't have links on each one of these files that will link back to every single file that you have of the website, then users can be stuck on a page and they don't know how to move to a different page, because normally users are not going to type in a new URL in the browser, because they don't maybe know much about URLs or anything. They just search something online, go to your website, and then you might send them to a page without any links to any other of the pages, some important pages. Maybe if they go to a login page and they log in, and then they don't know where to go from there because you don't have any links to the, I don't know, the profile pages or any content or articles. If you don't have links to them, then it's very difficult. So let's make a little example of that. Let's say we want to make a little navigation bar. So we make a few different files. We'll have 2 different files. So these will all make up the website called HTML example. Okay, so I save that as, I'll save it again as a PHP file, just keep it consistent. So I'll call this HTML example page 2, and this as well, I'll save it as HTML example page 3, and again save it as a PHP file. Okay, so then we have these 3 pages that will make up the website, and I'll just copy and paste all the different code that we already put in so that we have a site that looks the same. And then let's make some links that will send us between these pages. So let's say this is all a header up here, the welcome hello world. Let's say that's giving us, you know, the contact stuff about you, and then the title of the website, and then we have some links. Obviously a very ugly website, but so we have 3 different links because we have 3 different pages. Okay, and here I want to have an href to nothing because we're on the home page. So here we can say home page, and if you link a link to nothing, it will just send you back to the same page like that. It just reloads it. And then the second link, we want to go to the next page, and since this page is found in the same folder as this, so I have HTML example 2, they're in the same folder, so I don't need to put any URL. I can just put the name of the file, so I put in HTML example page 2 .php, and let's call that page 2, and then do the same for page 3. So let's see how that works. So we have 3 different links here, and I can click on that one and it'll send me to page 2, and then I need to go back to get there. So this is a mistake that some people make. If you just put 3 links on the home page, but then on these pages here you don't put any links back, because let's say I click on page 3 and then I want to go back to page 1 or page 2. I need to go back and do, you know, different things that might be annoying. Instead, if I have 3 links here on every single page of the website, that's going to be much easier. So let's do that. So I'll just copy this back. So this time we actually need a link to the home page because we're not on the home page anymore. Oops. HTML example.php. And then since we're on page 2, we do not need to put any link there, and that's the same. So if I go to page 2, I'm going to get these 3 links again, so I can click on home page again and it will send me back there. So do the same for page 3. Here we do need a link again, an href. Let's put that page 2. And here we don't need anything because we're already on page 3. So here I'm on the home page. I go page 2, page 2. We're on page 2. I can go to page 3. I can go back to home page, and it's a full circle. So I can navigate the whole website without any problems. And this is absolutely necessary if you want users to be comfortable on a site. There's nothing worse than being stuck in a page that you can't get out of. So yeah, a bit of a deviance from the topic of attributes, but still very important. Another interesting attribute that you can use, we'll keep the navigation bar here, is that of the title. So if you have, let's say, a paragraph with some, I don't know, let's not do lorem ipsum again. Let's do The Great Gatsby intro. No, not intro. First. Always a classic. Oh, I did that in page 3. That's okay. Let's go to page 3. Okay. So let's say I'm reading this text here on a website, but I don't know what I'm looking at. And many times in websites, sometimes you just hover over something and it will give you information about it. And a very easy way to do that is to use the title attribute. So I can put title and say Great Gatsby opening. Now watch. When I put my mouse over that, it will tell me information about it. So it will say Great Gatsby opening wherever I put the mouse in the thing. And that's very useful if you're putting a quote or like this from a book or something that the user might not know what it is. Even if it's a link, if I put a title attribute on the link, it would be quite useful. So because users should be treated as really dumb, even though they're not, because it just makes their life much easier. So if you put a title attribute on page 3 to say go to page 3, even though it might seem stupid, it's actually not. So the title attribute is very interesting, actually. So then you can see that all these attributes that I'm doing are being put in single quotes. I like to use single quotes for some reason, but you can actually use double quotes or single quotes. Or if you're just using HTML on a website, you can even use no quotes. Sometimes browsers don't like that, and definitely Notepad++ doesn't like that, and starts, starts attributing different things, especially if you have a break, like spaces, then it's better to always put it in quotes. But for example, so here it won't work, putting it without quotes. I mean, really the thing is just to use quotes, but just to show, if you don't have any spaces, if I want to go to page 3 here, it will send me to page 2. So this attribute here will work without quotes, but it's always best to do it. And you can use double quotes as well. And definitely there's some situations if let's say you wanted to put a phrase in here that had an apostrophe. So Fitzgerald's book. You can see that Notepad++ alerts you that there's a problem. That's because the title is already being said to be Fitzgerald, because the apostrophe is gonna quote it. So here, if you go over it, it's just gonna show Fitzgerald. So here you need to enclose it in double quotes, and then it's fine. And sometimes even if you want to put a quote inside a title or an attribute, you'll have to enclose it in single quotes. So if you want to put I don't know, actor John said this is a great opening, you need to enclose the whole thing in single quotes because you're using the double quotes to denote a quote. And there you have it. So yeah, I mean, I think all of this is pretty obvious to you, but it's just good to go over it. And then I already showed you the alt attribute for images, but just in case you've forgotten, I'll just show you that again. If you have an image and you're linking an image that doesn't exist, so if I put image and I put source is another attribute that will denote the link to the image that you're calling. So source fake image that doesn't exist dot PNG. And I just put it there. It will just show a little broken file icon. And if that image is important in the page, so if it was a Wikipedia page about Mike Tyson and that was the main picture, and it had a description but only that as the picture, if it was a fake image, then people would be confused. So you can just put the alt, meaning alternative, and you can put Mike Tyson. I don't know why I thought about Mike Tyson. And there you have it. So it will just show you, give you a description of what the image is about, and you can even give much more detailed descriptions if the image is very, very important to the website. So yeah, that's basically all the attributes that for now you need to know. As we go on, different types of attributes pop up, but just as an intro, this will do great.